Hello and welcome to today's historic best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on an updated version of Red Deck Wins. Or if you're newer to Magic and don't know what that means, it's basically a mono red aggressive deck. What Red Deck Wins wants to do is hit the ground on turn 1 ideally and continue to just play various creatures on the curve and apply pressure here and there until we eventually curve out at the top end, which is really our Chandra. The Pinnacle Monk is technically the top, but practically it's a Chandra. And with the Chandra and all the aggressive tools, we really want to just be as aggressive as we can. We do this again with our various creatures, but we also have an assortment of burn spells, our interaction spells, like Galvanic Discharge or Static Discharge. And even, again, the Chandra, being sort of a Swiss Army knife of a Planeswalker, can also be interaction. But beyond the aggressive creatures and the burn spells that we use to either remove our opponent's creatures or burn our opponent's face, we also have the third category, which is basically card draw or fuel for the deck, since the deck's main weakness is that it runs out of cards fast when you're trying to be particularly aggressive. And if you don't have enough cards as an aggressive deck, you will sputter out even faster than you normally would. To do that, we have a copy of Unstable Amulet and a couple of Chandra Torch of Defiances, all of which are, again, really just card draw tools where, again, Chandra can be a lot of things. Land base is also pretty self-explanatory. Let me move all of the Modern Horizons land. Not Modern Horizons, basically the dual face lands. We have some mountains and some Ramanab ruins for some free damage in the deserts, or in the form of this particular desert. We also run four Sunscorched deserts, as again, more forms of free damage in the land base. Same thing with a Barbarian ring, even though the ring is not a desert, it's also just free damage in the land base. And a couple of Den of the Bugbears for some creature lands, and just various bolt lands that are nice bits of utility to have in a land base, since the deck, or the rest of the main deck, is pretty focused on just being really aggressive and applying pressure. If we can get any sort of extra utility out of our land base, besides just, extra damage and creatures, we do enjoy that. The sideboard also super self-explanatory in terms of like silver bullet cards. Some Rampaging Ferocidons for the abundance of life gain decks floating around. A couple Chandra Awakened Infernos for the counterspell heavy decks. A couple of Scavenging Grounds for graveyard hate if we need it. It also can be a desert if we need more fuel for Ramanab Ruins. 2 copies of Null Elemental Blast, since as a mono red deck you don't get a whole lot of interaction, and you kind of don't want that much, but Null Elemental Blast is a way to get a little tiny bit of interaction sometimes, but more often than not you are trying to be aggressive. But if you can sometimes, counter a spell in a mono red list that gets you over the top or whatever, or destroy a thing, again, all little bits of utility we like to have, even though they might not see the most amount of play. They're absolute blowouts when they do see play. Couple of Braids for either creature removal or artifact removal. Some Brotherhood's End for usually sweepers, but again can also be artifact removal. Another Sundering Eruption if we need to deal with like any particular problematic lands in the format. Again, the example I always give is like Maze's End or Baldur's Gate, or even in like a mono green devotion, either the Nykthos itself or whatever land they happen to strap all of their 1 mana enchantment thing, Fertile Growth or whatever it's called. Being able to Sundering Eruption that away is pretty nice, and if we can also turn that land destruction into some damage, then that's just extra on top. The One Ring is actually sort of more useful as a kind of like a sweeper, but it's really just a fog effect that we can run in an opposing aggressive matchup, like your like your elves of the format or other particularly scary go wide decks, sometimes being able to play a one ring and buy you one turn and maybe some card draw is all you need to like push over the top. And that is the basics of the list. Again, we just play creatures, apply pressure, burn out our opponent, and try and win particularly fast. Anywho, with that out of the way, don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future, and if you have any sort of questions like I don't have X, what about Y, or other generally nice and or constructive comments, I'll do what I can to respond to what I see. Now, we'll go on to game number 1. And game number 1 with our little red deck wins. Not only do I always say we play first because we have a brain, but especially since we're playing a mono-red aggressive deck. We'll go ahead and keep this. Ideally, you want to have a 1-drop and then things to do on turn 2 and sort of just curve out into an aggressive game plan. One thing I will talk about really fast, if you might see this come up at some point in today's video, who knows. I am recording this the day, what is that, Foundations or whatever? The new set for Arena just dropped today, so I haven't had any time to test, and I have already been testing with this red deck wins less list for the last couple of weeks. So I'm not going to just throw out, a couple weeks worth of testing. Anywho, go ahead and play a Swiftspear. Again, having such a high density of haste cards in the list is a great little bit of utility to have for the sake of applying pressure. Okay, Strangle. Thank you, sweetheart. I couldn't see what I was doing. Guess we'll play a Sun-Scorched Desert. Play an Earthshaker Khenra. Again, another, in this case, a 2-drop aggressive creature with haste. All of which, again, just trying to apply pressure to our opponent's dome. And not for nothing, they're on 14 life on turn 2. Is it like Jund good stuff? Abundant Harvest is weird. Some Boomer Jund thing. Oh wow, it's just actual Dark Confidant in the format now? Is that the Foundations logo? I haven't even opened my packs for reference. Ancrop Crasher, again a 3-drop that's a good aggressive haste creature that also has upside. We love those. So, play the desert. I would not be surprised if our opponent has like a Fatal Push or something, if they're playing some like Boomer Jund list. Although, if Dark Confidant is in the format now, it would make sense that somebody would try some more Boomer Jund stuff. It'll work. It's not gonna not work, but they're really getting chunked for a lot here. Well, oh yeah, okay. Forgot about that card. Oh boy. What 2-card? Okay, you don't have any 2s in there. You have to. It has to be the exact intensity, right? Mind if I equal to its intensity from your graveyard? Okay, so it has to be the exact amount of its intensity. So we'll go ahead and exert with our Ancrop, making sure their Jarsil, or whatever the hell his name is, can't attack. And again, just keep trying to apply pressure. Maybe they have some sort of life gain and we're going to feel really sad and bad, but they also might not, and you might get there. Malevolent Rumble. Why is this in here? Let me see what you have in your deck. More Dark Confidants, Fear of Missing Out. Which one is that again? Enters, discard draw, Delirium. When it attacks for first time each turn. If you have Delirium, untap target creature. After this phase, there's an additional... What? Oh, attacks for the first time. Okay, I was like, there's no way they would just make that go infinite. I just didn't retain the information. We'd love to find a red source. Play a Raptor, or a Discharge, and then, like, a Raptor and look for, like, another Discharge, or if we have a Bonecrusher, we can always Stomp. Some Goyfs. There are 3-cost things in here that you can cast that we're scared about? Not particularly. I mean, they're doing things. Hi, sweetheart. Coming to hang out with the dad. That's a red source. We'll take that. Go ahead and static discharge up top. We have the life total sort of throw around being aggressive. Hopefully we'll find something useful with the Raptor, but even if we don't, odds are we'll find something to cast, since most of our deck is pretty cheap anyway. Hi, sweetheart. Would you like to pets? While Dad waits for person to see if they're going to sack their stuff and resolve. Well, that's not great. That's a little bit of an order lull, but like it's kind of not going to matter. If we get lucky and draw a land, or it needs to be another red source, that's not fair. Needs to be another red source, then we could just sacrifice or activate the Ramanop Ruins and sacrifice like a sun-scorched desert and go over the top. Our opponent is almost certainly going to bring in a good amount of life gain. If they are some sort of Boomer Jund list, I'd bet like $10 they got a couple Scavenging Oozes in their sideboard. I love that card too, but it's one of those. It is like a kind of a boomery card, if we're going to be honest. It's when it attacks. Yeah, when it attacks, first time, do extra combat shenanigans. Okay, we're sacrificing. Okay. They're milling. So yeah, another red source we have lethal. We could draw any one of our 3 copies of Static Discharge. I believe our 4... Or we'll say our... I want to say 4, but it should be 4 Bonecrusher Giants and their subsequent stomps. So we have like a good amount of outs here, all things considered. Of course, if we don't find them, life is terrible and we're very sad. Do I have Delirium on if I... No, I don't have Delirium on if I draw the Barbarian Ring, unfortunately. But that would... Well, that would give me the red source, so I wouldn't be able to kill with the ring. I'd be able to kill with a Ramanop. Yeah, we got... I don't know if I really would... That's a very aggressive attack. There's a possibility I draw some stuff and some goofy things go down. Yeah, that might have not been the right play from our opponent. Okay, their Eldrazi spawn giving them priority is absolutely brutal. Pardon the yawn. That is almost... I mean, to be fair, I've been there before, where my brain shuts off, and I forget the ooze or the Scion because I knew I wouldn't want to sacrifice it, but the game doesn't know that. This is one of those weird moments where like paper Magic is a little smoother than online Magic, since you can just say I pass my turn. It doesn't have to manually check each particular moment where priority could be held. It's always... How do I phrase this? It's always really interesting when a game that, like Magic, it being 30 years old, oh, that works too. That's lethal also. We just don't cast what we find off of Chandra. But my point was going to be, it's interesting that even after a game being 30 years old and gone through like several like tech upgrades and countless amounts of like design iterations, it can still sort of be superior in pockets to do it the old-fashioned way or the in-paper way. Opponent correctly realized the game was over. They didn't have a whole lot of multicolored permanents. It's a lot of monocolored ones. So the Null Elemental Blast is not... We're not that scared of the Jarsil that we need to, like, do goofy things. Maybe a couple Ferocidons, because you're not going to have that much life gain. Raptor's pretty good. Honestly, yeah, a couple discharges can go. We can bring in some braids. Okay, what we need to get rid of now. Like the discharges still. Honestly, well, weirdly, I think the discharges can just go all together. They're nice cards, and this is not like a knock on the card being altered in Historic. I think that's a good thing, as a person who plays Historic exclusively. It's not that it doesn't do enough damage. I just think that damage over the top is going to be more relevant in this game than like clearing away a board. Where if I thought clearing away a board would be more relevant, that would be more cause for me to keep the discharges in. It's not like it used to do 3 damage for 1 and now it only does 1 or 2 damage for 1. That's not my criticism here. Anywho, Barbarian ring on 1, a hasty dude. We don't mind with the 4 copies of. Oh, does that push immediately? Okay, that's fine. What I was going to say is with the 4 copies of Barbarian Ring and the 4 copies of Ramunap Ruins, and also I guess the 4 Bolt lands, we're very, very, I guess, cavalier, to use a big word. We're really cavalier with our life total, but being an aggressive deck, we kind of don't mind that. We sort of, if you're a responsible aggressive player or a responsible red deck wins player, you sort of accept the fact that in Historic, if you don't kill him by like turn 6, you're probably not gonna kill him. Permanent card. Okay, he's almost certainly gonna put Jarsel in his hand. You can always escape the Nether Goyf. Does he have a thing to play immediately? That really, really stinks that he has something to play right off the bat. So well, I don't think I care. I think I just discharge over the top. Might as well save the Abrade for responding to the Jarsel, since we still want to be the aggressive deck. I don't want to just like throw that away to answer this thing that they probably have 4 of in their deck. We will, however, if that's really Fable. I was kidding. Okay, that's not what I thought you were going to do. Huh. Play the mountain. Does that super, change what we do here? Why? I was just in the tank. You were fine. You were totally fine. Okay, let me. Okay, we were gonna. At most, we were gonna play the Soul-Scar Mage, and if we threw a discharge over the top, they'd be at 8. That's so weird. There's no reason for them to leave at that point. But depending on how long the second game goes, we might include a third game, since we did sort of still show the deck doing what it wants to do, since it is a red deck wins list at its core. It's not the most exciting thing. It does exactly what you would think the deck would do if you were a somewhat experienced Magic player at all. But anywho, on to game number 2. And game number 2 with our little red deck wins. Unfortunately, we don't get to play first, which is never ideal, but it's a coin flip. What are you going to do? A Lurrus deck. Okay. Well, we got 2 lands. Yeah, we'll keep it. There's technically 2 lands in here. It's great to use the Pinnacle Monk to sort of buy back a creature, but you don't always get that option. So we'll just play the Eruption as a land. Pay the 3 life. Hi, sweetheart. You getting up? Thank you for hanging out with Dad. Go ahead and play the Swiftspear. Again, being aggressive wherever we can. It's not the most complicated thing in the world. Huh. Dimir deck with Luris. Like some weird, like, rogues thing, maybe? That kind of changes what I'm going to do here. So I think we're going to play the Pinnacle Monk as the Mystic Peak, paying 3. I'm actually going to play the Soul-Scar Mage, keeping open a Discharge in case it is some weird, like, rogues list and they play, like, the Flash Lord one. Okay, you just had to push. Okay, that's fine. I mean, didn't really end up mattering that much, but what are you gonna do? Gonna push that too. Since they just keep on threatening to have the pushes, we just want to like make our opponent use the thing. In this case, we'll just play the Khenra we drawed. That way, no matter what happens, some damage is getting through. And there's even an argument for them to get rid of the Khenra over the Soul-Scar Mage. Or there's let me reword that. There's an argument to remove either one of these, and neither one is wrong per se. Just, you know, strikes and gutters up. Soaring Thought Thief. That was the card I was thinking about. So I feel a little bit more vindicated in that my guess of it being like a Luris Rogues thing appears to be accurate. That really kind of stinks a lot. I have a land. Main decking a cake. I'm sorry? Creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter from the battlefield. Can't cast spells in a Luris deck? Am I taking crazy pills? What the hell's going on here? Okay. I guess we'll do a discharge number 1. See if our opponent gets rid of our Soul-Scar Mage in response. Or do they counter the discharge? Oh, well, in that case, we're just doing this immediately then, since we have nothing else to do with it. We don't have enough to get rid of the Thought Thief. Blah, blah. So we're just going to pay 0 and get the extra mana. The hell is their deck? It's all over the place. I mean, it's like doing them good, so I can't complain too much. But right now we're just, I guess, we're at the stage of just trying to get damage in. They are sort of turning on my Barbarian Rings for me, which is very nice. Okay, that's fine. We'll take that. Play a Swiftspear. Gonna discharge away one of the Thought Thieves. Be very surprised if this doesn't get countered. Sneeze incoming. Okay, they're like running so many non-Luris hits in their Luris deck. But sure, I guess that's an option that resolves. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and attack. Yes, I know they can just trade freely with Thought Thief. I'm aware, but we're really in a bad spot. We're just trying to like make some damage happen. The fuck is their list? Like, it's working, and they're gonna like at least win this first like pre-board game. So like, good on them, I guess. Just really, really, really wild. Test of Talents is instant or sorcery, right? Okay. And to get surgical extract. Okay, they. No, I wanna. We've almost certainly lost. There's like damn near nothing we do to come back from this. Yeah, I don't think there's a single card we draw here that like saves us. And Norin is not it. Their deck is fucking all over the place. Like, good on them. Good on them, I guess. Weirdly, the Null Elemental Blast are gonna become really important here. The Blast are in. Braids are in. A couple of Chandras. I... Huh. How does that work? If you test of talents an adventure card, does it get rid of the thing the adventure is attached to? Is the only way I think this is how that works, but I might be wrong. Okay. In the off chance it does, a couple Bonecrushers coming out and a couple of discharges coming out. We don't want to just run right into another test of talents, wrecking our day. Norin's not going to be that useful. A lot of their creatures are going to be bigger than the Norin. Getting rid of some of our energy generation means we can cut like a raptor and feel pretty good. Yeah, their deck is fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man. It is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. I mean, good on them, I guess. Like, if it works for him. We will play first again, because we have a brain. And this is perfectly fine. Couple lands, things to do with them. Hopefully a curve to grow into. But even if not, we'll see. Doing pretty good. Another 1-drop. Fantastic. Just play a couple 1-drops. Hopefully we draw a land for the Ancrop Crasher. Feeling pretty good. Come on. Or do you have the push and we're just going to push now? A braid is something. Okay, we're doing pretty good now. We have 3 1-drops that'll get bigger within a braid cast if we got to get rid of a Thought Thief or something. Or whatever blocker he might play. Honestly, we're not gonna play the Crasher. I value the Abrade too much as interaction. And we've really got him on the ropes. So this is going like remarkably well. Fabled Passage is fine, although if you have access to all the... Well, okay, I understand why you would have Passage. Your what's the word? Your collection might vary, but if you have access to, like, rares and wild cards and you want to have a Fabled Passage, we can just run Prismatic Vista to the exact same effect. Go ahead and attack. It's giving them priority for something. But if they don't do anything, they're going to have to do something eventually, is what I mean to say. Because if they don't, they're just going to, like, die. Another desert is fantastic. Free damage where we can get it is always great. Do they have the thing? Are we going to push now? That's fine. Going to play another push. Also fine. What's the last one? Okay. If we draw a red source, we can always play a Crasher and keep open the Abrade, which is pretty nice. If we have the option to, we'll just Abrade away their only blocker. You could argue that we should do it on our turn in case the prowess trigger matters, but I'd be very surprised if this resolves. They show themselves to have Test of Talents, and there we go. Luckily, we don't have enough Abrades in the deck to, like, really feel too bad. It's not great. We don't love it, but this is one of those plays made for, like, the long-term health of the list. Is there a push here? Okay. Fair enough. That is a red source. We'll take it. Odds are they have some sort of instant speed interaction or another flash creature. Still, we will exert. Just trying to make our opponent make decisions. And hopefully they'll slip up and not have an answer. How many? Okay, yeah, they actually couldn't target that before. pretty nice. Luckily, if they keep countering our spells, or if they play the Thought Thieves, or make us even mill more like that, we get closer to turning on our Barbarian Rings. Isn't that right, sweetheart? Young cat who just got down only to come right back up. Ito Tato, Dad love you. That's pretty good. Do we care? That's fine. They correctly paid the black mana, not the Phyrexian mana part. If they have a counterspell, they have it. Better to just make them have like a test of talents again. Which they might have, you never know. But we take those. I don't think our sideboard plan terribly changes. So yeah, just go ahead and run it again, and hopefully we get there. But the way this deck is, or this particular game is going, I think we will just have this be a two... Well, this is a no-lander, so this is a no-brainer. I think we will only include... throw back the 4-cost thing. We will only include the 2 games, since our opponent... Let me rephrase this. Even though in the first game our opponent... how do I word this politely? Took the coward's way out. As a mono red aggressive deck, we do want to win as fast as possible, and the fastest possible way is for our opponent to concede. Get the fuck out of here. They milled both of my Chandras. That is the worst. In that case, we're probably going to discharge down the crab. We will do a desert, actually. Discharge down the crab. Try and save our library as much as we can. If nothing else, we do already have Delirium online, which is nice. Come on. That's a card. That is certainly a card. I guess we can do a Soul-Scar. And we'll do a Galvanic Discharge for 1 to get rid of the Wind Robber. Again, we can... There's a fair point to be made that we should save... Yeah. The non-creature for the Prowess trigger, but clearly it ended up mattering. And they sacrificed their Wind Robber, so our Discharge doesn't resolve, so we don't even get the energy, which is unfortunate. But if nothing else next turn, we could always play a Ruin, play an Ancrop, and just go face. We might be in some trouble. We're almost certainly in trouble now. I mean, credit given. That will do it from our opponent. In the meantime, we'll play the Khenra since we just drew it. Still try and claw back into this game. And to be fair, this is one of those, our opponent did the right thing. I don't know what they boarded in to be... Well, that's nice. I don't know what they boarded in to be more, like, controlling here, but they did do the right thing. They are playing the more controlling game now, or an even more controlling game than they already did. And that's a thing that's gonna be a bad time for a mono red list. It just is. Guess we'll Bonecrusher away their Thieves Guild Enforcer. Okay, this will tell me, does it get rid of the card it's attached to? Because I've never had that interaction happen. Let me read this real fast. Counter target instant sorcery. Searches controller's graveyard, hand, library for any number of cards with the same name. Yeah, but the card does not have the name. The card's name is Bonecrusher Giant. Okay, that's interesting. So if nothing else, I've learned something for science here, so we happily take those. My God, it's weird that they kept the test of talents in. That's the fucking oddball part. But good on him, I guess. Do they have a removal spell? Well, counterspell. Although Drown the Lock is both. We don't love that. If our opponent plays a Lurrus and starts slowly building back up their board and pulling from their graveyard, we're going to be in for a really rough time. We might actually get milled out, which is unfortunate. But, you know, it is a red deck wins. It's beyond turn 6 now. Again, we sort of accept the game is kind of over at that stage. Luckily, they don't have anything else. I can get rid of the Lurrus, which is actually something. So the Lurrus is getting out of here. Do for 2. We can always, in theory, find something useful off of a unstable amulet. We'll see, though. We're still in a really rough spot. Yes, yes. Mill your cards. Oh my god, I'm milling over lands, too. To be fair, milling over anything at this stage just sucks. Oh god. Yeah, that's not great. We don't love that. I guess we do abrade the Thieves Guild Enforcer since it's the biggest thing. They can always just sacrifice their Wind Robber in response. Better to actually like try and get some use out of a removal spell. Let me see how this is actually worded. So I can play a land. It's not cast, it's play. So if I find a land, I can do it. Weirdly, that would have... Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's cool, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. The scrying. To be fair to our opponents, I have not seen a rogues list in like a hot minute, so we always do, you know, enjoy it. Or enjoy seeing rogues. It's one of those I enjoy rogues as a deck too. Although my Khenra's got milled, which is the absolute goddamn worst. Just drawing immediately. Ay, ay, ay. I hate having to do this. But I think the only responsible play is to discharge down a Ruin Crab. Unless you have a test of talent. Which point I'm going to cry if you do. Okay, it wasn't a test of talent, but it is a Drown in the Lock, which is damn near close enough. Okay, I'm going to give this a couple more turns, but like it's we're almost certainly have lost this game. If I was not recording, I probably would have already scooped and moved on to the next one. On top of the fact of our opponent did unnecessarily scoop early in the first game. Oh, fuck me. To be fair, I'm not getting to the lands, odds are, to cast the Khenras, but yeah. Khenra after Khenra, like with successive ones, would have been like probably too much for our opponent to like reasonably handle. We're just gonna be polite adults and Ventress now. Are we gonna do this whole rigmarole of like pretending that's not what's gonna happen? Oh my god, we found a land. Gonna pay 3. We will down tick and get rid of a crab, since this is the only way that I see us coming back. We really don't, if we can avoid it, we don't want to use the impulse effect any more than we have to. Since if the more we do that is basically the quicker we mill ourselves in addition to what our opponent's doing. That's 2 on the top. Why keep 2 on the top if you're just going to have a... Why? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What do we do here? So I guess we can do an uptick for mana. We will play the Sundering Eruption on the castle. Also turns off a blocker for a turn, but really we're just trying to get rid of the card advantage since we're both sort of top decking right now. The correct thing to do is to, yeah, do that first. I mean, that's something. We'll take it. Go into attack since the crab can no longer block. We don't need to worry about it, you know, cracking back and attacking us. It, in fact, being a crab. Not exactly the most dangerous thing on the planet. Yeah, they're doing the passage thing. Down to 9 cards will be to 7. 6 will be next turn. Or do they have... Oh, it's 3 cards. Fuck me, it's 3. Oh, okay. They had glimpse the unthinkable. Okay, we just died. That's fine. We got milled out. That's cool. Weirdly, again, you can make an argument, and people have before, that mill is just a aggressive deck attacking their opponent on a different axis, where a mono red deck is going for their life. A mill deck goes for their deck. But also, they, as a Dimir mill deck at their core, they just had access to like way more controlling tools and were able to out-control us, which is going to happen sometimes, and you're going to lose some games like that. But that's, you know, is also a part of playing a mono red deck. You're going to get out-controlled sometimes, and sometimes you'll absolutely... Hi, sweetheart. Thank you. And sometimes you will absolutely blow out your opponent really early on, and a game might take 5 minutes, or a game might take 22 minutes like this game, and it's just a bad time basically the whole way down. But that's, you know, kind of the ups and downs of it. Baby strikes and gutters. All that. Still, deck is absolutely fun. And really, if a mono red aggressive... If a red deck wins deck, or a mono red aggressive deck is built even halfway competently, it's always going to have a spot, in my opinion, in a healthy format. And mono red does in Historic at the moment. So if you are looking for a nice, simple, easy way to get some wins and to climb a little bit and to do your quest and to get some gold, and also a deck that will have some good staying power since it'll pretty much always be relevant, this deck also does that. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you like my grab bag of content and would like to see more in the future. And if you have any sort of questions, like, I don't have X, what about Y? This deck is really more of one that the particular cards you include are not as important as the how do I word this? The spirit of the deck, or what you're trying to do with the deck, which is basically, again, hitting the ground running early on and just applying as much pressure and going as fast as often as you can, and just trying to race down your opponent before you eventually run out of steam or they turn the corner. So the exact cards don't matter as much as long as your build of a red deck wins sort of accomplishes that same goal. Anywho, thank you all so much for watching, and I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.